tiny fish, this big, this little tiny fish, not doing well. You know why? No water. They're sending water. It's too much. It's killing the fish, so they cut it off. And then they have 25,000 houses burned down. They don't know why. No, I think, I believe in it. I'm the only one that took a cognitive test. I do, it's the worst. If I don't do a medical exam, because I've had times where I went longer, because I'm busy. If I don't do a medical exam, they say, Trump's not doing an exam. There must be something wrong with him. If I do the exam, they say, why did he do this? Why did he do this part of an exam? He did too much. There's something wrong with him. Do you remember there was a period, Mike, where I had 32 days in a row. I did one press conference, 2, 3, sometimes 4. I do them behind the desk. I don't even just do it. I do press conferences. But I do many press conferences. So in 32 days, and then one day, just one day. This is 32 days in a row. Must be some kind of a crazy record. Then one day, do you remember I didn't do one? Because I took Kai, my very brilliant golfer, beautiful young lady who swings the club so beautifully. She's a great scratch golfer and loves playing. Grandpa, would you take me to play golf? So I ran, I play golf in like record. I play speed golf. It's better that way. You know the expression? Miss it quick. No, I play speed golf, but I'm a good golfer. Everybody knows. Anybody that I've beaten in this group. But I love to play golf, but I don't get to play much. But I took off 2 hours, and the press couldn't find me. But they knew I was there because they follow me. And I was getting, are you okay? Guys are calling me up. Some of the guys in this room. Sir, are you okay? Yeah, what's the problem? There's a report, sir, that you're no longer with us. Remember that? No. The report was that I don't want to use the D word. It's such a horrible word. Dead. I don't like. There's a report, sir, that you're no longer with us. I said, well, I just hit a 280-yard drive. This isn't bad. And, it's one of the, and it took me a couple of weeks to get that one straightened out. The new one is they did a report in the fake news New York Times where I worked this day from early in the morning till late in the evening, but we don't give out a full schedule. It's like who the hell wants to give out a schedule to these people? But it's all work. And this, in particular, this day was brutal. I never got to leave the seat. You couldn't do anything. It was just one after another after another. And this went on from early in the morning till late in the evening. And my people gave out a report. He had lunch. They show a report, lunch with somebody. And they did a story. Donald Trump is slowing down. He only had lunch. And then he went back up. And they said, that's malfeasance, whoever did, right? No, it's terrible. I was actually more angry with my people than I was with the New York Times. But they wrote a story. And it takes you a period of time to recover from these hits. And it's almost no matter what you do, but you have to keep a positive eye. But we have a fake press. We did a thing that's so incredible on medicine that nobody has ever done it. Reducing favored nations, most favored nations, we reduced the cost of medicine at levels that have never even been dreamt of before. We should win the elections on just that thing if we did nothing else and went home, go home. We did favored nations where we're bringing down the price of a pill. As an example, in London, the pill sells for $10. In New York, it sells for $130. That's 13 times as much. Most favored is, I want to pay what the lowest nation in the world is paying. Everybody knew about it, but nobody had the guts or the stamina to do it, or the respect from other nations, but I do. And then you also had to get the drug companies. The drug companies were not easy, but they were much easier compared to the other nations. So the other nations used to tell the drug companies, we're not going to pay more. You kept it for years the same price. Everything, we just kept going up, up, up. And finally, I had the drug companies, and I said, listen, fellas, you can't do this. Can't do it anymore. I'm not going to let it. We're going to do it, and you're not going to do it. And I did things to them that were brutal, but I really found out it was the nations that were so tough. So when France was told that the pill will go from $10 to $30, it's a big increase, right? But it's not really. And that ours would come down from $12 or $13 down to $30. So theirs would go from 10 to 20 or 30, and ours would go from $13 down to, meaning $130 down to 20 or 30. So it's a huge drop for us. Now, depending on the way you calculate it, it could be thousands of percent down. It could also be 90% and 80%. You know, there's two ways of calculating. I don't know if you know. They said Donald Trump exaggerated. Now, there are two ways of calculating it. But calculate it at 80, 90%. But the other way is more accurate, like 900%, because that's what it really is. But there are two ways, but use to be generous, 90%. There hasn't been a reduction in 28 years, except for the 1 year where I got it down 1/4%, and I had a news conference. I was so proud of myself. The drug prices, prescription drugs, are going to be down by thousands of points, thousands. On that one item, you should win this election. The New York Times barely wrote about it. The other papers barely wrote about it. Nobody even knows that the drug prices. Now, people will say, you don't mind if I don't read this crazy teleprompter, do you? Because, do you mind? Because I have, it's called standard. But these things are so important because you guys got to get elected. Because if you don't get elected, we have a country that's going to go to hell. So we can't play games. Ladies and gentlemen, the sun will rise tomorrow, and when it rises, we don't need this bullshit. We need to talk about favored nations. And your numbers are coming down at levels that nobody's ever seen. We inherited high prices. We inherited a mess. We inherited the greatest inflation in history. And you know what was knocking it down? The bad economy that we inherited. We inherited bad. We now have the hottest economy in the history of our country. We have $18 trillion being invested in the United States. Every one of you have car plants, AI plants, plants of all different types. Because of tariffs. I hope we get the good ruling from the Supreme Court. I only hope we do, because it's given us tremendous national security. So let me just finish up, because I weave. I love to weave. If you ever weave and don't come back to the point, then that's a problem. Then you say, but when you weave and you go here and boom, 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 always coming back, then you're in good shape. But what's happening is by doing what I did, we're getting numbers that are so low. But what did I do to the countries? I said, France, your health care for prescription drugs is going to go up triple. It's going from $10 a pill, just as an example. I called it the fat drug. You could say the fat drug, Ozempic. Ozempic is $80 in London, and it's $1,300 in New York. The fat drug. A friend of mine called me up. He said, what the hell is going on? A very rich guy, but I said, the fat drug doesn't work on you. Why are you even taking it? The drug has failed miserably, but he's a very loud, boisterous. He's not a bad guy, not a great guy, smart as hell. But he's a very rich guy. This drug, he could have paid millions for it. It wouldn't have mattered. But he said, in London, I'm paying $80. In New York, I'm paying like many times more than that. What the hell is that's because of what's happened? Because the nations held us back. So the drug companies, I made a deal with them. You're going to do it? They said, whatever the nations agreed to. The nations were a bigger problem than the drug companies. So I said, you tell me they'll never agree, sir. I said, 100% they will. 100%. They said, sir, the smartest guy, Eli Lilly, Merck, Pfizer, all genius. They're all making numbers you wouldn't believe. The defense contractors are making more. That's why I'm going to say you're making $45 million a year and you can't produce a frickin' helicopter for 7 years. We're going to talk to them about that. But I said to the France, I called up, as an example, France, just as an example, I like him, he's a nice guy. Emmanuel, you know Emmanuel Macron. I love the French accent. Emmanuel. They said, listen, you're going to have to raise your prices a little bit because we're paying 14 times more than you. That's a lot, right? We're paying numbers. In other words, we're making up for all of this deficit. No. I will not be able to. Mr. President, please excuse me. Most of the people call me Mr. President, except for people that don't respect me. They call me Donald, which are probably a lot of them too. But they said, no. Putin calls me Mr. President. She calls me Mr. President. Emmanuel goes, no. We will not do that. Yes, you will, Emmanuel, 100%. Because I was told they wouldn't do it. And this is, you can take Emmanuel and add up Hans. You can add up Ludwig. You can add every name in the book. It's all the same. The answer is no. We're not going to double our drug prices. Not for you or anybody else. I said, yes, you are, 100%. We are not going to do it. No, you don't understand. 100%. You're going to do it and you're going to like it. They go, I don't understand. I've told you 5 times, why do you keep saying you're going to do it? Because I'm always right about, Trump is right about everything, right? I said, the hat. Trump is right about it. I have been right about everything. Got to keep it going. Is there wood up here? Hold it. I always like to, just in case. Trump was right about everything. And I said, so you're going to do it, Emmanuel? No, I'm not. I said, okay, here's the story, Emmanuel. If on Monday you haven't agreed to every single thing that we want, I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything coming out of France, including your wines, your champagnes, and everything else. No, you cannot do that. I said, I can do that, and I will do that. Even for national security, I'll do that. But this is for medical security. And 100%. Now, let me explain. The tariff I'm imposing on you is 42 times more expensive than what I'm asking for you in return. So you can either have a 25% tariff added on to you, like I did with China on fentanyl. I put a 20% penalty tax on China, and it's drying up because the tax is far more than they make with fentanyl. But with the other nations, I said, you're going to do it. And you know what he said? You can't do that to me. I said, yes, I can. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be that bad. You just have to explain it to your people, your 39 million people, that, by the way, don't vote by mail. They vote on paper ballots. They tried voting by mail, and there was fraud all over the country. We're the only country that votes by mail, essentially. You know that, right? You know, Speaker, that's another thing. We're the only country that's stupid enough to vote by mail. Even Jimmy Carter's commission said, don't do it. But just to finish so that you won't say he wanders. Emmanuel said to me, Donald, you have a deal. I would love to increase my prescription drug prices by 200% or whatever. I would love to do it. It would be such an honor. Whatever you want, Donald, please. Don't tell the population. Please, Donald, I beg you. Every country said the same thing. No, we will not do this. Some were strong, some were very nice, some were rude. But they all said one thing, no, we won't. And within, I'd say on average, 3.2 minutes, they were all saying, we would be honored to quadruple our drug prices. So we would be honored to quadruple our prices if that's what you like. We want to make you happy. Okay. Therefore, I will not charge you a tariff, and you're going to increase your drug prices by 3 times what they were paying 2 days ago, right? And we have now favored nation. You think Biden could do that? I don't think so. Think Biden ever thought of it? Now, everybody's wanted favored nations, but everybody knew it was impossible to get the countries to agree to it because they wouldn't have done. And they've been doing this for 40 years or whatever it is. We were subsidizing the entire world. That's just one of the many things we're giving. But you should take that thing. That's going to save. Now, that also, when you add that to healthcare, your drug prices are much lower than what you projected. So we're going to reduce healthcare by a lot. One other thing. On healthcare, it's never been our issue. It should be our issue. We had a very nasty vote from a couple of people. I guess Collins, I guess Lisa Murkowski, and I guess a man named John McCain. Remember? Thumbs down. You remember. He said, I'm all for 10 years he campaigned. I don't want to be nasty, but for 10 years he campaigned on Obamacare. We're going to destroy Obamacare. We're not going to do it. And then we're going to terminate it. And then, it was a little surprising. We could have had health care, good health care. Obamacare is bad. And the people understand it's bad. And the premiums are horrible. But one thing I've learned a lot about health care. I found health care sort of like not of tremendous interest, but it was very important. And I made it of tremendous interest. So I made a statement a couple of months ago because I saw the numbers. I said, boy, because, I like to see what's going on. That's one of the reasons. By the way, we set an all-time record again today. We have the highest stock market in the history of our country by far, every single month. That's another thing you should camp. They like to demean that. The Democrats, well, that doesn't mean anything. That's just, no. That means jobs, and it means 401ks, because a lot of people have 401ks. And they have, best lawyer in the room, the best, have 401ks, and they have 401ks like, I had a young policeman. I told this story twice, but it was the same thing. This was a recent case. I had a case years ago, because I had a great economy. We had the greatest economy in history during my first term. My first term was a tremendous success. But again, nobody wants to talk about that. We rebuilt our military. We did things that nobody could have done. We did a great job. This term is blowing it away. It's blowing every term. There's never been a president that had a year like this, especially a starting year. And we should win based on that too, all things. But the 401k, so there's a policeman, and he comes up, and he was guarding me along with lots of other people. Sir, I want to thank you. What? My wife thinks I am the worst investor in the world. And for the last year, she thinks now I'm Warren Buffett. She said, you're smarter than Warren Buffett. You're a better investor than Mr. Warren Buffett, sir. I said, how's your 401k? It's doubled. It's going up. It's going up. I said, just relax. But 401ks are through the roof. Those are us. Those are the people. We have the highest stock market in history. 47 days out of 11 months. We have just a piece of the last month left for the first year. 47 days out of 11 months, we hit a new record. Well, we hit one last night. We hit another one today, I understand. But we hit one last night, a new record, brand new record. All exchanges, not just, Dow. Dow was up, but all of them. We have another record, that's the 47th time in 11 months that we've hit an all-time high. And the future, because we have more money coming into our country than any country has ever had by far. The record was about $3 trillion many years ago by China. We've got $18 trillion pouring into our country. You know why? Because of tariffs. Because if they build a factory, they don't have to pay any tariff. But if they make it in another country and they send it in, they have a very big tariff to pay. So they can't pay that tariff. So what they do is they come in and they're building. By the way, this is what China did to us for many years. It's just reversing it. Other than we have a great product. We were losing our product though. Tell you what, if I had lost this election, if you had Kamala, it's the same thing, Joe and Kamala, I call them equals. If you had Kamala come in, I believe that our country would have been Venezuela on steroids. I used to say that during the campaign. If I don't win, we're going to have Venezuela. So we have 18 trillion coming in. I think we could hit 20 trillion by the time the year is up, right? It's less than 1 year, 18 trillion. The record is $3 trillion. $3 trillion is a lot of money. 18 trillion is not even thinkable. That's all investment. That's building factories. That's building plants. You know how many car factories we have? Half of you guys are having car factories. Where you are, Louisiana is doing great. Georgia, right next to you, is doing great. Hello. Nice guy. All nice people. Actually, in this room, I can't see it. Is there anybody I'm supposed to dislike in this room? I think that a couple of people maybe didn't show up. There's only one that I really dislike. I mean, the same person that Mike gave up on, because there's something wrong with him. He's a sick person. But there's only one, really. The others, you just have to understand them. You know, they have some problems too. But you just have to sort of go with them and understand them, feel sorry for them. Advise their family, are they okay? Because what we're doing is right. But $18 trillion, car plants being built. I was in Japan. Somebody admonished me, he shouldn't be traveling. I don't like to travel. But when I travel, I make a lot of money for the country, not for me. For me, I don't care. I have a much higher purpose. I have plenty of money. I don't need money. I don't want money. I want to make money for the country. And like I did with Intel. Intel came in. They had a problem. I said, I can solve the problem, but I think you should give the United States 10% of your company. He goes, whoa. I said, yeah, I think I can help you with the problem, but you got to give the United States, not me. Sometimes I'll say, give me. But when I say me, I'm talking about, I'd love to accept it, but I don't think that law enforcement would like that, right? I'm very cognizant of law enforcement, perhaps more than anybody in history. Actually, a friend of mine who's really smart said, you know, you've got to be the most honest guy in history because you have been examined, your books, your records. I have a big business. Every record, I had these Democrats hired the biggest accounting firms, the biggest law firms, the biggest. I went through years of abuse. And here I am. They didn't find anything wrong, remember? We want his tax returns for years. We want his... Finally, the Supreme Court, shockingly, I'm the only one. This couldn't happen to anybody else. You have to give your tax returns, right? I gave my tax returns. They're from here to here. It's a big business. It's a great business. And I built a great business, like much bigger and better than anyone even understands. But I gave my tax returns. They go from here to the ceiling practically. They got them. Headline, Trump to give tax returns. Supreme Court ruled I had to give my tax return. Can you believe it? Everyone said, you're not supposed to do that. And by fighting, they think you're trying to hide something. You know, naturally. I gave my tax returns. That's the last we ever heard. They hired the biggest accounting firm in the world, most powerful lawyers in the world. They spent millions and millions of dollars going over those returns. There hasn't been one story that I did anything wrong. So this friend of mine who's highly sophisticated, rich guy, smart guy, said there's nobody that I know that could have gone through an examination like that and not ended up in prison. Nobody ever had to suffer like I did. Nobody ever did that to anybody else. You know, there was an expression, Andrew Jackson was the most abused president in the history of the United States. You know who second was? This before me. You know who second was? Abraham Lincoln. But he had a civil war, so we have to give him a pass. But Andrew Jackson was treated horribly. He was a great general and a good president. So bad that his wife died. I mean, his wife died. They were horrible. But I just saw a report came out the other day. I blow them away. He never got impeached twice. I got impeached twice or nothing. On a perfect phone call, remember? Perfect phone call. Tim Scott, who's a great guy, great, wonderful guy, South Carolina, straight guy, right? He is a good guy, good person. He's an honest person. He read a transcript. Thank goodness I had a transcript. Essentially, the call was taped because they tape calls. I didn't even know. So was that call taped? Yes, sir. I said, oh, well, bring it down. I don't even know. And we read the transcript. It was perfect. It was so good.